Over the last 5 years or so, a lot of us have felt this shift in our social lives. And it's more than just feeling lonely. There's actually a hidden mechanism that got switched off, and it quietly changed everything about how we make friends as adults. So let's dig into what that is.
It all kind of starts with this one super familiar moment. Picture this. You're a few years into working from home, you're slammed, you've sent a ton of messages, maybe you've been on some calls, and then it just hits you. And look, this quiet isn't some big, dramatic crisis of loneliness. It's more like a symptom. It's a clue that points to a silent engine that used to just hum along in the background of our lives, building our social world for us. And now, for so many of us, that engine has just stopped.
So what was this engine? Most of us think that adult friendships are all about intention and effort, about being really charismatic. But the research, it tells a totally different story. The real force that builds friendship is way more passive, way more automatic.
Okay, so here's the technical term for it, the propinquity effect. It's an idea that's been around since the 1950s, and it is so simple. The single biggest predictor of whether two people become friends is just being physically close to each other. Yep, that's it. Being near the same people over and over does all the heavy lifting for you.
And this, right here, is the key insight. For most of our adult lives, the office was the thing running this engine for you. It put us all in the same room with the same people day in and day out, and that closeness quietly built our social lives without us ever having to think about it.
I mean, think about how it worked. It was so simple, almost invisible. You didn't really choose these people, but the way work was set up put you near them. You'd grab coffee at the same time, you'd bump into them in the hallway. All these repeated, low-pressure, unplanned moments just created friendships. It was a byproduct of showing up.
And then, March 2020 happened. And for millions and millions of people, that engine just shut down. No warning, no memo. One day it was running, and the next it was gone.
At first, honestly, it was kind of novel, right? The whole remote thing masked what was really happening. But by 2021, a new reality set in. We were communicating a ton, Slacks, emails, scheduled Zooms, but those random, unplanned run-ins were just gone. And in the years since, we've seen the result. The friendships that were held together by that glue of just being around each other started to fade. Okay, but here's the real trap. Because no one was talking about this big structural shift, the engine stopping. When people felt their friendships drifting away, they didn't blame the system. They blamed themselves.
And that's when that little voice in your head starts up, right? This feeling that maybe you've changed, that maybe you've gotten worse at being a friend, that somehow the problem is you. But that explanation is just plain wrong.
So when you start blaming yourself, what do? You turn to all the standard advice out there for loneliness. And this is often where it gets even harder, because that advice is just not built for this new world, a world where the friendship engine is gone. Oh yeah, you know the list. Put yourself out there, go to a networking event, be brave. But this advice is asking you to do something impossible, to manually recreate with pure effort what that engine used to do automatically. It's like being told your car's engine is gone, and the solution is to just, run faster? And this is where you can really see the problem. The engine worked because it was all about low-stakes, repeated contact. You could see a coworker 30 times before you had a real conversation. But the advice? It shoves you into these one-shot, high-pressure situations where you feel like you have to connect right now. It's a totally different ballgame. Get this. Research actually shows it takes somewhere around 200 hours of shared time to build a close friendship. And the office, well, it was racking up those hours for you automatically, in the background, without you even noticing. Now, compare that to, say, a 2-hour workshop or a networking event. You can see how the math just doesn't add up. It's impossible. You can't replace that slow, steady drip with a fire hose of intense effort and get the same results. So please, hear this. If you've tried all that advice and it felt hollow or just plain didn't work, it's not you. It was never a personal failure. You were just using a tool designed for a totally different problem.
So what does this all mean? If the problem isn't you, but the condition you're in, then the fix isn't about changing yourself. It's about rebuilding that condition. And that is the new path forward.
And that right there, that changes everything. We can stop asking ourselves to somehow become braver or more outgoing. The real question is, how do we engineer the situation? How do we recreate the circumstances that let that propinquity effect do its magic again?
This really spells out the shift in thinking. The old way is all about courage, this thing that feels like you either have it or you don't. But the new path? It's about repetition. And that's a practice, not a personality trait. Anyone can build a practice.
So what does that actually look like in real life? It's not about joining 10 different things. It's about finding one place. A coffee shop you go to at the same time every morning, a gym class that's on a fixed schedule, a co-working space you use a couple times a week. The goal is to find a place where you can just be around the same people over and over again with zero pressure.
But, and this is a big but, you have to be patient. This friendship engine has always been slow. Those 200 hours don't happen overnight. You just never noticed how slow it was before because you didn't have to sit there and watch it work. It was just happening.
All right, so think of everything we've talked about as a map. It's a map that shows you where you are, explains how you got here, and gives you a sense of the road ahead. But of course, a map's no good if you don't take that first step.
Look, if there's one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. That story you might have been telling yourself, the one where you're the problem, it's just wrong. The way out isn't about becoming a different person. It's about rebuilding the world around you so the connection can happen naturally again.
So I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Not something you have to answer right now, but just to start thinking about it. What's the one place you could start building that repetition back into your life? Where could your recurring place be?